I want to make sure that this messenger has a chance to get her camera.
Yeah, it's fine.
You tell us when you're ready.
Ready.
Okay. Thank you, Frank. Thanks everyone for coming and welcome. We'll try to make it as quick as we can, that everyone will have plenty of opportunity to express themselves. Happy Valentine's Day. It's a gorgeous day. The last thing we want to do is sit in here all morning, so we'll keep it moving. The first order of business is for us to announce that we have convened and now concluded our closed session, which we pursued and invoked pursuant to section 54956.8 of the California Government Code. The result of the closed session meeting was the passage unanimously of a motion appointing a negotiator for the district to interact with the Homes Association and the Charitable Foundation in connection with the project. I have been appointed as the lead negotiator, and Director Shorthall has been appointed as the alternate. And so now we're back into our regular open session, and that always begins with a public comment period. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on items that are not on the agenda. So if you have anything you'd like to say that has to do with anything other than the letter of intent, you're welcome to do so. Our watchwords will be, as they have been before, please be relevant and respectful of your neighbors. Succinct, stay on topic. You have 3 minutes. If you are veering off into the weeds, we're going to try to steer you back onto the topic. So this is the opportunity for any public comment on any matter not on the agenda.
Alderman Carr. I have maybe
Rich?
one announcement. Yesterday, I was had opportunity to be appointed to the board of Fire Safe Marin, which I think would be really good for us to have a representative on there. For those who've come to our last couple of meetings or looked at our website, we've actually been very aggressively working with Todd Lando to pursue some grants, real big ones. The grants are actually funded by that SRA fee that we all pay every year that we usually hate to pay. But this is a chance to get that money back. We're looking for $125,000 back this year. I think there's a high likelihood we're going to get it. But there's a lot of other grants and activities out there. They're all really coordinated through this Fire Safe Marin. There's representatives from every, Mill Valley and all over the place. So it's very interesting, and I'm really grateful for the chance to be on it. And I think a lot of good ideas of activities that are going on throughout the county we'll be able to bring back and make happen for us here. So I'm kind of excited about it. And we'll be talking a lot more about Fire Safe Marin and a program called Firewise Communities and so forth going forward. And I think that Sleepy Hollow is well poised to be essentially the most fire safe community in the county as we move through these programs over the next several years. So.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks for serving. Just one other announcement. We have 2 tentative dates for the next fire pumps training day, which will be here at the clubhouse. They're potentially April 16th and 22nd, subject to confirmation from the Ross Valley Fire Department. This would result in us deploying the 5 pumps that we have available to do so, bringing us to a grand total of 33 pumps scattered throughout Sleepy Hollow, pursuant to our pumps program.
Yes.
John.
Maybe you could explain, someone here might not be familiar with what you're talking about, the pumps.
Okay, I'll be happy to, but just with the caveat that it's not on the agenda as an item, so it's more in the nature of an announcement. Just so you know, about 6 years ago, we purchased a few of these portable cart-mounted fire pumps that are used to siphon water out of swimming pools to refill fire engines. The average pool has about 15 to 25,000 gallons, whereas our fire engines only carry 500 gallons. So the big danger is them running out of water and not being able to connect to a hydrant under exigent circumstances. So we decided with the help of John to acquire these pumps in a series of purchases, and with the advice of the Ross Valley Fire Department, we have placed these pumps at residences that are typically at the wildland urban interface, at homes that also have swimming pools. These are the most vulnerable areas where the pumps are most critical. And we've had 28 pumps out for the last couple of years. We don't want to identify the homes where they're located just for fear that it might invite tampering or something, but we want to thank our neighbors who've been willing to do that. To participate in the program, you have to sign a waiver and release and participate in the training day here, where you get to squirt the water from the pool, that sort of thing. One important understanding is that the pumps are not intended for homeowners to use to defend their own property unless they're instructed to do so by the fire department supervised. They're primarily a tool to refill fire trucks in the immediate area rather than use as personal fire self-defense. Carol?
Oh, yes. Morning, Connie. And my question was, is this training open to observers as well? Of course. Thank you. Will it be on the website, Pat?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Final opportunity for public comment? Seeing none, we will now proceed to the consent agenda. And without the objection of any board members, I'd like to withdraw from the agenda 2 items. These are the approval of the meeting minutes of June 27 and February 4. I did not make enough copies of these minutes. I placed them on the table and they've all been snapped up. The June 27 meeting, if you were in attendance, you may recall, only required a correction of a cross-reference within the minutes to an attached item. And the minutes were approved, subject to the correction being made. The correction has been made, but I haven't put it up on the site yet. The other one is the February 4 regular meeting, which was last Wednesday's meeting. I just haven't had a chance to get those up on the site yet either. But we have the minutes from July 18 and August 9, which were meetings in which this project was discussed. They are up on the website with a link to the video that was made of each of those meetings. With that, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of July 18 and August 9.
So, motion to approve those minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And so now we're on the action item for which we are all here, and that's the continued consideration and discussion of a proposed letter of intent from the Fire Protection District to the Homes Association and the Charitable Foundation in connection with the Community Center Rebuild Project. Our counsel, Danielle Gensch, who's a partner in Anselmo LLP, is here with us today. We have, for about the past week or so, had a draft of this letter of intent up on the website. We've brought some extra copies. I also should note that we are providing as well a one-page summary of the points of the letter of intent. Don't know if all the copies have been taken, but we'll put this up on the website as well. This is for informational purposes only. The letter of intent is the operative document, but this is a kind of a handy snapshot of what the letter of intent contains. It's my belief that the letter of intent speaks for itself. It is full of lots of legal concepts and a little bit of formal legal language, but I do think it's self-explanatory. But we're going to welcome anyone's comments about what they've read in the letter of intent or in the summary. I want to begin by inviting the members of the board to make any comment or ask any questions about the letter of intent, about the draft letter of intent. It's available. Rich?
I just have a question for you, and maybe you can explain everything for you. Where this is in the process, how we got here, what this means, what's this all about?
Thanks. I'm sorry, I neglected to do that. For anyone who has not been following how we got to where we are today, if you'll indulge me for just a minute, I'll try to summarize off the cuff how we got here. So about two and a half years ago, we were approached by the Homes Association with a request to consider participating in the rebuild of the community center here. Of course, being a public agency, those would be public funds if we were to contribute them. And so there were some complexities that had to be addressed in order to be able to consider even doing that. We've spent the last couple of years doing so. Today, I believe, is our 11th meeting in which the project has been discussed either as an agenda item or as a non-agenda item, but in which substantive discussion was had. So We've also had a couple of well-attended public meetings with over 100 people, after which we opened a public comment period for a period of 30 days and extended it further, inviting anyone to say what they had to say that they weren't able to say at the meetings. We received, as of the last public comment period, which ended in August, a total of 103 comments through emails or notes or other statements. They were running approximately 65% pro, 19% con, and another 19% with questions. And the questions helped us to refine our vision of what we would like to see done, and that has brought us to where we are today. At our meeting of August 9th, we passed a motion unanimously that we should authorize our council to draft a letter of intent that embodies the basic business and legal terms that we think we could proceed under, and we'd like to present to the Homes Association for feedback, and we have done what we said we were going to do, and that's what you have in front of you today, this 10-page draft letter of intent. We propose to discuss it here today, and if the board approves, this is exactly what we would deliver to the Homes Association and the Charitable Foundation as an invitation to negotiate. Feel free to supplement my comments.
And we'll hear more about this today, but just want to be really clear. This is an invitation to negotiate. This is not the final deal. This is not giving money to anybody. This is initiating a discussion and laying out the discussion factors from our point of view. We'll have to sit down with the Homes Association, see what they have to say. If we reach some kind of agreement that we think is workable for everybody, we will again publish that agreement as a draft ahead of time, invite public comment, have another public meeting about it, or more if we need to, before any votes are taken. So I just want everybody to understand, this is not the agreement, this is an invitation to begin discussions about a potential agreement. And no vote has been taken to distribute any funds related to the project.
I should probably also describe what the function of the letter of intent is. It's not just an invitation to negotiate, but the idea behind it is that if we can reach a meeting of the minds about the key terms, then we'll feel that it's a wise decision to invest in having our council begin to draft the definitive agreements. That's an expensive proposition, and we don't want to spend that money unless we're sure that we have assent from the Homes Association. So this is basically an opportunity to find out whether we're on the same page about how we'd like to see this unfold. And if all signs point to yes, then we'll go ahead and take the opportunity to put together actual definitive documents. I should say that before we execute any final version of the letter of intent, an issue has been raised about the possibility that the directors here have a conflict of interest because each of us is also a member of the Homes Association. In the case of Frankfurt, more than 50 years. In the case of Rich, probably about 30 years. In my case, 20 years. For myself, I'd like to say that if and when it comes to it, I'll consider resigning from the Homes Association in order to eliminate the concern. Although I have to say that I strenuously believe that we don't have any conflict of interest in connection with voting on this draft letter of intent that would disqualify us from making an objective decision about the letter of intent or even the final documents. That's just my personal statement.
I'd also like to say, I don't believe that there's a conflict. In fact, I kind of resent the allegations about it because I think they're unfounded. On the other hand, I have no problem at all resigning from the Homes Association if there is even an appearance of conflict. So, it's at certainly the appropriate time, I'm more than glad to do that.
Yeah, I'm an honorary member, have been for a long, long time. My wife is an honorary member, but at the same time, I'm ready to resign very reluctantly, and my wife says the hell with it. Okay.
Again, this is all dependent upon whether or not we're looking at a probable deal to be made, and the timing plays a big part in this as well. So we're just expressing our view. I see a hand in the back, Connie Berto.
I'll jump in with my comments. I printed mine off the web, and I've had a chance to go over them several times. This is the letter of intent, and I made some notes. First of all, this is a very...
Connie, I think we're getting ahead. We're not discussing letter of intent, the public comments on it just yet. Could you just hang on? We have to have our discussion in front of the public first.
Sorry, I
and then-
didn't catch that.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
For anyone who's new, we tend to run things very informally. We really have never had people come to our meetings in all the years I've been on the board until we've undertaken to consider a project like this. So we don't run the same type of operation that other public agencies do. As you know, we don't have any staff. We don't have a location. This is all done by us from our homes. And so we don't have the level of formality that other organizations do. But nonetheless, we comply at every turn with the Brown Act and other requirements that we're obligated to. Rather than walk through the individual boxes or clauses of the draft letter of intent, why don't I just invite the directors to...
I think you should at least go through that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I will do so. We're going to work off of this summary document, and if someone lacks a copy of it, I'll make sure it gets up on the web and or on our website, and that you have an opportunity to view it. It's just a one-page summary, and for those who don't have it, I'm actually going to read from it briefly. This is a summary of the draft letter of intent regarding the Sleepy Hollow Community Center rebuild project that's informational for today's meeting, especially prepared for today's meeting. The letter of intent is a proposal to negotiate the terms of several interrelated potential agreements and is neither an offer nor a contract. Note that these terms represent what the district is asking for, and there will be some give and take in our discussions with the Homes Association, which is the property owner, and the charitable foundation, which would be the project implementer. If and when we agree to terms, we will sit down and begin negotiating legally binding agreements, which negotiations will take place only after the district, the Homes Association, and the charitable foundation each decide whether to move forward with the project. So I've broken the agreement into its essential terms in two columns. They are a use agreement and a funding agreement. As we envision it, there would also be some ancillary agreements, the deed of trust, the mortgage, collateral assignment, those sorts of things. But this is the heart of the transaction that we would like to see. The use agreement is essentially similar to a commercial lease. The district would have the right to occupy office space, storage space, utilize the meeting space, and use the building for emergency shelter purposes for an initial term of 60 years. And then after 60 years, the lease would be self-renewing or evergreen. The rent would be $1 per year. The facilities would be available to us on a 24/7 basis, and we would also obtain an option to purchase an equity stake in the property at a pre-negotiated price. The equity stake would be in proportion to the project funding that the district provides to the project. The Homes Association would be responsible for operating the building as the effective landlord, but it would do so pursuant to an operating plan that would include setting aside a reserve up front to cover some operating expenses for the first 10 years. The operating plan would be subject to the district's approval, and we would have the right to operate the finances of the Homes Association with respect to the operating plan if we felt it necessary to do so. The Homes Association would carry sufficient insurance to protect itself and the district. That would be a minimum of $2 million per occurrence and a $5 million umbrella. We would be named as an additional insured under the Homes Association's policy, and the Homes Association would fully indemnify fire protection. This is very typical of what you see in a commercial lease, except that it's titled a use agreement because it's not a lease. It's not a conveyance. The other agreement, the companion to this, is the funding agreement. It might be helpful to think of this agreement as a construction loan style agreement. Under this, the Homes Association would propose to contribute up to $1,975,000 maximum, or 80% of the total project cost, whichever is lower, toward the rebuild of the community center. The Homes Association, together with the Charitable Foundation, would contribute a minimum of 20% of the total project cost.
Did you say that it's the fire protection district that contributes 80%? I think.
Yes, a maximum of 80% of the total project cost, up to 1.975.
Okay.
1.975 number reflects the fact that we have already contributed $25,000 toward the design of the project so that it can be rapidly converted into an emergency shelter. That's a feature that the Homes Association wouldn't have otherwise integrated into the project, and we felt that it was our responsibility to pay for those design features that were being incorporated to suit our requirements.
So, excuse me, is
No, let's continue. If we could, then you can ask your question.
just to clarify this?
Could you wait? Could you wait, please? Thank you. The arrangement would be, the funds would be made available on a milestones, back-end loaded type basis, also very typical in a commercial construction contract, with an up to 10% retainage. We require the Homes Association to conduct a public bid process because public money is going into the project. And we require that the construction agreement be a guaranteed maximum price contract, and ask that the Homes Association indemnify the fire protection district from any failure to comply with any of the rules required in connection with the public bid, the operation of the project itself. We require a detailed construction budget that would be subject to our approval, and any increases in the budget or change orders would also be subject to our approval. They'd be at the Homes Association's expense. We'd ask that the operating plan be updated every 5 years and be subject to our approval. All residents of the district, irrespective of whether they are members of the Homes Association or not, would be permitted equal access and participation in the community center. And then finally, we would ask that the Homes Association execute a note and deed of trust to secure its obligations to the fire protection district. Of course, that one-page summary is going to grow into probably 50 pages of single-spaced text if and when the time comes. So it's an overview of the touchstones that we think are needed to be able to proceed from this point forward. All right, I'm going to invite my fellow directors to make any statements or comments they have about the summary. If it's inaccurate or otherwise, please feel free.
The point I would like to just add here is that the Homes Association residents, Sleepy Hollow residents, had a fundraising, and they raised $500,000 as their contribution, their 20% to our 80%, and that's done. And I think that that reflects a real community support. And we're not landing this on a community that's sitting back and saying, oh, goody, goody. The community is part of this, and we thank you. Okay. Rich?
Just kind of adding to one thing that Frank said, which is besides the cash contribution,